Thanks for stopping by. Now, I have decided to start a new playlist on my YouTube channel, and I call it Classic Episode Reviews. I thought it would be fun to check out some old episodes of various TV shows. I just thought that would be something that would be cool, and I decided to do that. And today we are taking a look at one of my favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone, and it is called The Midnight Sun. This was from Season 3, Episode 10. It was directed by Anton Leader, and it had a script by Rod Serling. Now, of course, the plot of this episode is a pretty terrifying one. So, the Earth has left its orbit and is slowly moving closer to the sun. So, each day as we are getting closer to the sun, the Earth is getting hotter and hotter. And as you can imagine, that is not something that is very good for the people in the story. This starred Lois Nettleton as Norma. She is a young woman who is living in New York City, and she's an artist, and she has decided to stay put in her apartment building. She doesn't really have anywhere else to go. And she is joined by her neighbor, Mrs. Bronson. And Mrs. Bronson's a little bit older, but they are both single women and don't have anywhere else to go. So they stay in their apartment and they try to wait it out. And what happens from there on in is just some terrifying stuff. They just have nowhere to go. You can see the desperation on their faces. They try to keep cool. They try to find water, something to drink. And every second, it just keeps getting more desperate and desperate for him. I think the performances in this are really good. Norma, played by Nettleton, she has this every girl quality. She's just likable, and you will root for her. You really do. But of course, her fate is not a good one because this is the Twilight Zone after all. And I do believe that Betty Grate is great as Mrs. Bronson. There's some moments she has where she is just trying not to panic, but you can just see the angst on her face, the desperation in her eyes, and they really sell it. Both of them make these characters feel real, and you feel for them, and I think that's really good storytelling. Now, a couple of quick highlights for me in this episode. There is a scene kind of early on in the episode where they are listening to a radio, and the announcer on the radio is just talking normal. He's talking about the weather, and you get the sense that he's reading off of a script. And then there's a moment where the announcer on the radio just stops doing that, and he starts saying some terrifying things like, "You should defend yourself. There are roving gangs of cutthroats and thieves out there. If you have a weapon, arm yourself because they are likely going to come for you." This guy's saying things like that. And you can see on the faces of Norma and Mrs. Bronson just how terrified they are. And I wanted to mention that because I think that is a subtle but very powerful moment in this episode. It's the idea that you have something benign like a radio or a TV, something that you're used to using for recreation, something that's brought you joy, something that's brought you entertainment. Now, all of a sudden, it is being used as a device to bring you fear, to bring you horror. And Serling was great at putting things like this in his script. He just takes something like that and he just twists it a little bit. And it was that moment in this episode that really stuck out to me, and I thought I would mention it because that just felt powerful and great storytelling, great writing. Of course, we know Serling was an amazing writer, and it shows in that moment, and I really liked it. Okay, so I would like to talk about the ending of the episode, and I am going to get into spoiler territory. When I talk about these older things, these older TV shows, I really want to actually discuss the nuances of them and the actual plot points. So I will be talking about spoiler things in these reviews. So I would suggest watching the episode before you watch my review, or at least being familiar with it, because I do want to talk about the ending of this. It is great Serling-esque stuff. So, of course, the Earth gets closer to the sun, and everyone, Mrs. Bronson, Norma, they succumb to it, and it's this horrible fate. But it cuts to a scene where it's winter outside and there's snow. And we find out that Norma was actually having a fever dream the whole time. And that's why she was so hot. And that's why the narrative was her imagination thinking of this heat situation, because she was having a fever dream. And so we're left to believe for a split second that, oh, okay, well, maybe everything's going to be okay. That was actually a dream, and her fever broke. She's going to be okay. It's snowing outside. It's not hot. But of course, no. Serling's got one more twist of the knife for us. And we come to find out that the Earth isn't actually moving closer to the sun. It is now moving away from the sun. And the Earth is getting colder and colder. And Norma is thinking, oh, this is great. I'm not going to burn to death. No, but we as the audience know it's going to go the other way. And I just think Serling was so brilliant with these things. He just didn't give his characters any quarter, especially in this episode, for sure. Okay, as always, I got the clipboard of creeps here. I looked up a couple of really quick things I just wanted to note. So there's this part in the episode where Norma is painting paintings. She's mostly painting the hot sun. And towards the end, when they're getting closer and closer to the sun and they're succumbing to it, there's this part where the painting is melting. And the way they achieved that is they actually painted the painting on wax, and they put the wax on a hot plate and melted it. And that's how they achieved that effect. I thought that was pretty neat. And then the other thing, the director, Anton Leader, he shot this in the summer on a set that didn't have air conditioning. And he actually turned the heat up in a few key scenes in order to help with the tone of the scene and the story. And I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was definitely something that I noticed as I was watching the episode. Because if you watch the episode, there are parts where the actors are sweating profusely and they look uncomfortable. And it just looks realistic that they are hot and miserable. And I remember watching this wondering kind of how they pulled that off. Well, this is part of how they pulled that off. They shot it in the summer in a hot stage, and it shows the actors were really able to use that to sell the effect to us, and I think it worked really well. All right, that is my look at The Midnight Sun, episode of The Twilight Zone from Season 3, Episode 10. I definitely recommend you go and check it out. You can view it on Paramount Plus right now. The Twilight Zone used to be on Netflix, but it's not on anymore. You got to have Paramount Plus if you want to stream it. I actually watched it on my DVD here. I have DVDs of most of the Twilight Zone episodes. I do have Paramount Plus, but I have the version that you have to watch commercials. And if I can avoid watching commercials, I do. So I went with the DVD. You can get these from your library. They're readily available. Get it on Amazon. I suggest you do that. Especially check out this episode, The Midnight Sun. Great stuff. Okay, I will be coming back at you with some more classic TV reviews. I will also continue to do my films. Don't worry about that. More films are coming your way, but I will also do some more TV in the future. And I appreciate you taking the time to stop by and hang out with me and talk about this cool episode. I would love to hear your comments. If you have any thoughts on this one, please let me know. I would love to hear it. All right. Thanks again for stopping by. And until the next time, have a good one.